Okay.
Thank you, and
What's going on?
welcome to the Blowing Bubbles podcast, the coolest safe space on the planet, where the overwhelmed unwind, the lost find focus, the weak are empowered, and the lonely feel the love. I want to welcome Dennis today to the Blowing Bubbles podcast and tell everybody about you and what it is that your podcast is about.
What's up, everybody? I'm your boy Dennis Sample, aka Awesome D, and the name of my podcast is Raising My Queen. Raising My Queen was inspired by my late daughter, Denisha Williams, and I lost Denisha back in November of 2017 to lupus. And around about in September, we were having a conversation in the kitchen, and Nisha said, Dad, you're not the norm. And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, you're not the norm. I keep telling you that. She said, a lot of my girlfriends have God problems because they got daddy problems. And she said, I'm quick to tell a guy, hey, I don't have daddy problem. I might have an attitude problem, but I ain't got a daddy problem. Yeah. And so basically, my podcast is about the different journeys that we went through. I was a single dad, and so just being a black single male, it teaches you to get into your nurturing part of your body and to work with my daughter to give her the tools that she needs to navigate through the thing called life, do a relationship, business, and such more.
That's beautiful, beautiful. How long did she live with lupus?
She lived with lupus for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I lost my best friend to lupus.
Wow.
Yeah, she passed in 2019,
Okay.
September 2019. Wow. We have a lot in common,
Yeah, we
Dennis.
do. We do.
Wow. Okay. Now, you how long have you been out of the Marine Corps?
I got the Marine Corps in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And you also shared with me that you do your job. You don't have to say where you work, but you do some interesting things with regard to drug. Is it drug addicted individuals? The support that your um, company provides.
Well, basically, what I do as a lot of time, I'm a video producer, and so I do video production. And one of my jobs is to go out and to create content or create PSA public service announcements about drugs. About like the number one drug right now is fentanyl, and it's out killing people.
Yes.
And so, we try to make people aware of those different drugs and things like that, as well as interviewing parents who might have lost kids to drugs and things, and understanding, what led to it.
Mm. That's something that's so necessary. I support mothers a lot, with the Blowing Bubbles podcast. And one thing that mothers have the misconception when their children are little that everything gets easier when they get older. When they grow up and they go away, it'll be better. And then you have big problems that you can't control. And drugs is definitely one that a lot of families deal with.
Yes.
And in your experience with your with your job, do you see any progress really in the last, let's say, 5 years?
Um, wow. No. No. Not really. I mean, I think some of the things that we have going on. There's a lot that the news doesn't talk about, or that you don't really hear about on the news channels and stuff like that. And so, because of that, there's a lot of things that I don't really see a lot of changes for me personally.
So, what are some of those things that we don't hear about on a mass media scale that um, people need to know about?
Well, I tell you, when I first started working, and I was on a project, and they had these books that was down, and it was a visual for honoring, kids, for parents who had lost kids to drugs. And as I got through looking through this little book, I noticed that there was a 13-year-old boy in there that had overdosed.
Mm,
And at that time, my son was 13. And I'm thinking, like, wow, I can't imagine my son, being out on drugs when he should be just being a kid, enjoy,
yeah.
playing games at that time. And so I started reading, and he was going to a pill party. And so a pill party, is when they have like a bowl
They treat it like candy.
and they treat it like candy. Just,
Yeah.
they just go into the medicine cabinet and just get some pills and just pour it into a little thing, and they just come in and just throw it in the
Yeah.
mouth. And although we might say, as adults, say, that's stupid, you gotta understand that peer pressure is so strong. Peer
Yeah.
pressure, it's wicked.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow. Whew. Okay. So, what are some nuggets that you can share to help parents to prepare their children for that peer pressure?
Wow. I think having a good relationship, having a good communication with your child, make sure that that you're honest with them. Be authentic with them. Like with me, my daughter on my podcast, what I try to bring out to her was that, hey, if you lie to me, then I can't help you, because basically I'm just gonna be fixing a lie. If you got a problem in life, I'm gonna be fixing a lie.
That's
So
right.
let's have some integrity. People can take a lot of things from you, but integrity is one they can't take from you.
At
You
all.
got to get that up, and once you give it up, it's hard to get it back. You know,
Yes.
and so I think that a lot of parents forget that we were once kids, we were once influenced by different things, and so with that in mind, you got to understand that, be for real with your kids and just understand what they're going through, and don't look down on them so hard, like, like, okay, well, you're wearing this, you're wearing that, or you got your hair this way, you got your hair that way. We had afros and
Right.
afro picks in our head and things like that. We wore sunglasses in the dark room because we were being cool.
Yeah.
That's the phase. And so everybody can go through a fad, and that's when you talk to them. Say, hey, I know you're going through a fad right now, but I want you to be aware of this. I talk to my son. Hey, look, sir, when you go out, you can do a lot of things. I don't want you doing no drugs. I don't want you doing drugs. I don't want you drinking and driving. Because sometimes you can think that things are gonna be okay. It can be one small situation.
It's okay till it's not.
Yeah, yeah. My mom used to tell me. She said, "Son, you can do something in 30 seconds that take you 30 years to get out of."
Woo.
Yeah, that one saved me.
Woo.
Yeah, that one saved me.
Yeah, that's a bar, mom.
Yeah, yeah. When my mom was spitting, Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Right. So, raising your daughter, being a single dad with a daughter. First of all, salute to you, girl dad. I'm a daddy's girl,
Okay.
so I have an appreciation for your deliberateness and intentional raising of your daughter. What would you like to tell other fathers in are some things to look for, to prepare for, and to be deliberate with raising their daughters?
Number one, I think that step up. Be present. Let her know that she's valued. Let her know that she's seen. Let her know that she's heard. Um, Create for me, it was a thing, almost like a code word. Where basically, like Kevin Hart said, pineapples.
Yeah.
Like pineapples. And so it's one of the deals for me. It was like, when you want to have a conversation with me and say, "Dad, I need to vent." Okay. At that moment, when she said, "Okay, go ahead, you can vent," you can say whatever on your mind, whether you got to curse it out, whether you got, like, whatever you got to say, because I know at that point there's something that's inside of you that's bothering you.
Mhm.
And if I give you that room and that freedom to come out and just express what you got to express, instead of me coming and say, don't talk like that. I'm your dad. No, she has something on her mind, and she trusts you enough, that she looks at you more than she's coming to you. If I come to some other friend or some other guy with it, be open to it. Go ahead and vent, babe. What's on your mind? And then you listen. And then when I listen, I don't tell my kids what to do. I give them suggestions. I give them options. And so, okay, basically, especially if it's a point that they're getting at the age where I really can't dictate what they're going to do. Like when they get into like that 17 to 18-year-old mark, like especially when you get 18, okay, look, you grown now. So at this point, whatever you do, you're going to pay the consequences behind. And so as I listen to myself, okay, listen, um, I hear what you're saying. If it were me and I were in that situation, I would do this or I would do that. What are you thinking? What do you mind? What options are you looking at? Okay, I don't think that's a good option right there. But because you got to look at this, have you thought about that? And you kind of walk them through them and you teach them the problem solve. You know.
That's right.
Now there's be a lot of people. That was rude. You have a lot of people that might turn around and sometimes you get into a relationship and let's say you have a baby out of wedlock and now you got baby mama issues. Okay, and as a guy, you might run into a situation where she might get mad because you with some other girl, maybe you cheat on her, I don't know. But no, regardless of what the reason is, the baby is still your baby. And that baby still needs love. So you find a way to make it work. You find a way to get along with her and taking your child. Always be a dad to, step in their lives. I could have you here in tears if I told you, my full story as what I went through and what, just becoming a single dad. And some of the things that, my ex had took me through, But, I'm not here to bash anything like that. I'm here just to deliver, a positive message. And so I was a single parent at a time when they wasn't used to black males stepping up and being a dad. They were used to we being deadbeats and stuff, you know. And so I told I was in the court and I said, hey, you know what? You guys are giving me a hard time because you're not used to a black male walking up in here and saying, hey, I want to take custody of my kid. You know. So, but answer to your question is just to be authentic with your kid, and to if you're a dad, if you're a male, do what you got to do, to be there for your child. If you're a mother and you're mad with the father, whatever, hold him responsible. You know, don't talk him down to his daughter, whatever. You know, just that's her father. That's that role model that she's gonna see for a male.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Okay. Now, one thing that we do here at Blowing Bubbles Podcast, I have a segment called the Co-Parent Conversation. And I have a lot of experience in tumultuous relationships, and co-parenting is, in my mind, a specialty of mine.
Okay.
And I do believe that I'm proficient at navigating those waters. My man, I'm
So sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
and
We'll cut
live. We are live,
We're live,
ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like to hear the different stories. I'm not a basher, a mother or father basher, either way. But I definitely like to hear stories, especially ones that, and this might sound weird, but especially ones that leaned in favor of the father, because there's so few of those stories. And ladies, I'm not at all like advocating for anything one way or the other, but I just want to hear, more stories that are not the norm. Not many fathers get their daughters, their children,
Yeah.
period, especially girls. You mind sharing a little bit more?
Sure. I'll give you an instance. I had a situation with my son, and he was he was he was at the stage he was acting up because his mother and I were going through a rough time in our relationship, and we were splitting off. And so what she had a tendency of doing was putting me down. Okay, you know, and a lot of females might come out and say, well, you're not good like your dad, or you're gonna be like your dad. Instead of reversing that conversation and saying, hey, you know what, you can be better than your dad, or your dad and I have a problem, but you got to reinforce it. There is one thing that I did. I wouldn't talk negative about their mothers to my kids, and my kids are grown now. My kids were at the age of 5, maybe 7, something like that, at the age when we split off. And now, my oldest son is 45.
Okay.
Okay, and it feels good.
First of all, you look great to have a 45-year-old. I mean, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, Melanin.
Appreciate that. Thank you. That black don't crack.
Ooh, but I have a 34-year-old daughter. Nobody thinks that.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit you for 34. See, so that works. But that comes from taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Taking care of yourself and putting God first in your life as well.
That's it.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow, you threw me off.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked.
Okay.
Wow.
But it feels good to have your son call you up one day out of the blue and say, Dad, I know I don't tell you enough, but I just want to tell you I love you and thank you, because I never understood what all you went through, to raise me. But now that I'm grown and have my own kids, I get it now. I get it.
That makes any and everything worth it.
Yeah.
That right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had another situation. My other son, he got incarcerated for 19 years.
Mm.
Okay. As a kid growing up, I used to tell him, hey, if you get in trouble, if you get locked up, don't call me because I ain't coming to get you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because I'm telling you the things that you need not to get in the system. Well, um, he did. And I went to see him. And the first time I went to see him, he said, Dad, you're the last person I thought I would see. Okay? Your kids can make mistakes. Okay?
Absolutely.
True love is loving somebody the most when they deserve it the least. Okay?
Facts.
And we were having a conversation the other day, he and my nephew. And to my nephew, he said, let me tell you something. He said, my dad told me if I ever got in trouble, don't call him. He was the first person that came to see me when I got locked up. He was my sole support throughout my time that I was locked up for 19 years. He's the one that inspired me. He said there were times where I was about ready to break and I would get a letter from my dad or I'd get a phone call from my dad or my dad would stop by and visit me. So don't tell me about fatherhood. He said, now he has a daughter. He said, Dad, I'm going to be the kind of dad to my daughter that you were to us. I got to be in the present in life. So, they see it. They see it, They
That's
see it. They see
beautiful.
it. Yeah.
Wow. I thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's so many layers of um, wisdom that you can share with my audience. And let me tell you all, when the children grow up, it does not get easier.
Yeah.
You have even less, no control, in fact. So I thank you.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I will say it has been wonderful. It has been a pleasure to speak with you. Anytime you want to come back, you are welcome because I know you got stories for
Oh,
days that
I
can
got,
really
yeah.
help our audience and to figure out how to navigate this thing. Um, man, I'm
I'm
overjoyed.
gonna share this one more nugget with you, then we're
Yes,
gonna get out of here,
let's
right?
go.
All right. My daughter, the one that the podcast is all about. When she found out that she had lupus, she was on the operating table. When she was on the operating table, but she was on the table laying down, and she said, "Dad, I'm ready to get up." I said, "Babe, you can't get up because if you do, you're gonna die."
Mm,
She said, "I've been laying here thinking about that, and I'm okay with that." She said, "So move. I'm gonna push you out the way." So as she tried to get up, the doctors came by and said, they pushed her down and said, hey, one of the doctors pulled me away and said there's 85% chance that she's not going to make it off that table. Okay. Then she said, I'm going to have to treat her aggressively. And the medication that I give her might kill her. But if I don't give it to her, she's going to die. She'll never be able to have kids because it's going to kill her over. Okay. Let me show you God. 10 days later, she walked about that hospital. Okay. A year later, she gave birth to a little girl. Okay. Now, if I get emotional, this was. So she said when she was at this point, she said, "Dad, you don't get it." When she's at this point, when you tell a person that is tired of fighting and they're ready to go, it's kind of like I'm kind of like tired of fighting. So she's like, "Dad, you don't get it." When I found out that I couldn't have kids, my husband and I prayed, and she said, when I found out that I might die at a young age, my husband and I prayed for God to bless us with a little girl that looked like me. So when I'm gone, that you will have somebody to be there for you and to love you in my place. And so that year later, she had a little girl. Her name is Nyla, African for God be with us. Drop the mic on that one.
Nothing left to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew. Stay popular.
Got me on that one.
I'm done with you, Dennis.